Welcome to The Real Heal, a show featuring real, raw, and authentic conversations between experts in the holistic health space. This is your chance to be a fly on the wall, listening to a 100% organic, unscripted chat about topics in the holistic health world that most aren't even talking about. And believe me, we are holding nothing back. I am your host, Dr. Renee Wallenstein, also known as the Libidoologist, double board certified doc, entrepreneur, as well as healthcare disruptor. I have navigated the traditional world of medicine and overcoming my own personal health obstacles, and I had to take matters into my own hands when the system was failing me. Now I'm shaking things up and sharing my message while collaborating with other experts in my holistic health community to bring you answers to your burning questions about not only getting well naturally, but sustaining that newfound good health. Each week, I will bring you an expert guest, and we will address not only the physical components of optimal health, but also the mental and spiritual influences that will set you up for a long life of limitless energy, self-confidence, and joy so you can get the real heal for good. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Good morning. Happy Monday. So I don't have extra light today, so I have a little shadows. And one's turning on and the light blue. So it's all good. The show must go on, right? But today I'm actually going to talk to you about one of my top 3 tips to decrease the bloating that you get with PMS or your period. And, it's interesting. I was going through all my notes, and a lot of times I come across notes from articles that I contributed to in the past or whatever. And I've done a research I'm definitely going to share. So I wanted to share this in here because I don't think I've done so. And if I did, it was a long time ago and most likely no one saw it. So first tip, and now this is going to be the first of 3. I will give you the other 2. Don't you worry. So they're going to be coming Wednesday and Thursday. I'll give you tips 2 and 3. And of course, tomorrow's Tuesday, it's Podcast Tuesday, and I have an amazing podcast dropping tomorrow with the amazing Bridget Danner. But we'll get to it because I have to hop on a video recording or training in the libido shift. So let's get to it. Number 1, not rocket science, stay hydrated. Yes. Actually, this is my second big thing of water today. I don't even know how big this cup is. So those mason jars that we always drink from in this house, because of course, glass first, no plastic. And I already had my AM detox water. If you're in the libido shift, you know what I'm talking about. But despite the feeling of like you have excess water on board, right? Because you're bloated, you just feel blah, you feel like you're retaining water. The worst thing to do is actually not drink, because the more dehydrated you become, the more you retain water. Your body holds on. It's a physiological thing. It's a smart thing that your body does. Doesn't always make you feel good, but if you don't have enough water on board and your body perceives that, it's actually going to be like, danger, danger. She doesn't have enough water on board. She might die from dehydration. Let's retain water. Let's hold on to water. Let's not get rid of it. And you don't get rid of it. Okay. So you'll actually hold water versus if you hydrate, what happens is your body then that siren stops going off in your body that says she's in danger, she's dehydrated. And that siren stops and your body's like, oh, look at that. She's drinking her water. And therefore then you actually will release the excess water. Okay. Make sure you stay well hydrated. You should do it all the time, right? Like I'm always a big proponent of drinking water, but it's super important the week before your period and the week of your period. All right. If you're dehydrated other times of the month, I don't want to know. Don't tell me, please, because that's not what I stand for. But if this is something that you deal with and you're like, yeah, I really want to do whatever I can to decrease the bloating, make sure you put it on your calendar. If you're tracking your period the week before and the week of your period or a couple of days of your period, making sure you get a lot of water. Now, what is the minimum amount of water that you should be drinking? Take your body weight, divide it by 2. That is the minimum amount in ounces that you should be drinking daily. Now, this will go up if you are sweating, if you are drinking caffeine or alcohol, those all dehydrate you. So you're going to actually need more on board. Okay. So tip number one, make sure you hydrate. Hydrate all the time, but make sure you hydrate the week before and the week of your period to make sure that we do everything in our power to decrease the bloating. Okay. Quick one today. I'm in and out, but I'll be back tomorrow with Podcast Tuesday. We'll chat a little bit about the podcast I did with the amazing Bridget Danner. And then I will be back on Wednesday with tip 2 on how to decrease bloating during PMS and with your period. Okay. I hope you're doing great. Any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A thread. I have a free day on Friday with nothing currently planned. I could always answer questions on Friday. If you had them, pop them there. Okay. All right. We'll talk to you Friday. Bye. Oh, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Questions on Friday. Okay. Bye. Welcome to your live training on tip 2 on how to reduce bloating with either PMS or your period. And don't worry, I'll repeat myself again. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything last week. I was on vacation, and it actually was my intention to continue to do live videos. And I don't know, maybe you're like me. Like, I always feel like I'm going to have a lot more time than I actually have on vacation. And actually, it was sort of a vacation tagged on to my son's soccer tournament. And staying in tiny little hotel rooms with the family in Manhattan, New York City, it's not very conducive to doing live videos. And, wearing a mask in a lobby, still not possible. So I'm sorry, I could not come live last week for the remainder of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we continue today with tip 2 on how to decrease bloat with PMS and your period. Now, if you missed tip 1, it's over in the guide section. Today's tip is dietary. There are certain things that you can do with your nutrition, specifically right before your period, that will help decrease bloat. Number 1, cut down on packaged and processed food. Now, if you're in my world, I at a baseline don't love you to eat a lot of packaged and processed food for many reasons. When it pertains to bloat with PMS or your period, it's because there's a reason these foods sit on the shelf for years on end, right? Have you ever looked at the side of a packaged item, aside from a vegetable? And I'm not talking about, I just opened a package with broccoli in it, organic broccoli and zucchini and such. That's when I say it's not literally packaged food, it's the packaged processed food. So those are the ones, with meal in a bag. You get an entire, all the protein and the veggies and a sauce that goes on top, right? Those are the ones I'm talking about. What the problem is when it comes to your PMS and your period is they contain a lot of salt. So not only the things that are a meal in a bag, but tons, like everything that sits on a shelf. One of the things that keeps it preserved is a high salt level, sodium. Look at labels, you'll see the sodium content, and it's crazy how much salt is in these packaged and processed foods. So cutting down on these kind of foods, again, at a baseline, if you're in my world, I already recommend cutting down on them if you want to improve your health. But if you're in the beginnings of improving your nutrition, but you're like, I really just want to start by decreasing my bloat right around my period, make sure that you stick to, I would say, real food. So stay away from a lot of things like meals in a bag, at least during your, probably your first or second day of your period and initially premenstrually. I would say at least 3 days in advance. Again, because there's tons of sodium, and I have nothing against sea salt when you are making your food from scratch. You're eating a whole food diet. I say salt away, because there's no way that you're actually going to be able to put enough sea salt on your meal when you're cooking it from scratch to compare with how much is in these packaged meals in a bag. All right. So because there's so much sodium, and when you look at the sodium content, look at the serving size, right? And how many servings are in a package. Because if there's 1,000 milligrams of sodium and there's 2 servings or 4 per package, that's a ton of sodium that you're getting just for one meal, right? And it's actually, all of that sodium is actually preventing you from getting rid of water. There's a gradient across from blood vessels. I'm not going to get into it, but essentially it draws water actually away from being excreted, so it can dilute, so it can make sure that the sodium and water concentrations are appropriate. So the higher the sodium that you're consuming, you're actually going to hold on to more water. So the water retention equals bloat. Number 1. Number 2, while I love cruciferous veggies, these things are a little brutal right before your period. Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, they may actually increase your gas premenstrually. So again, most of the times of the month, I would say, please eat your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, your cauliflower. They're really great for hormone balance. However, right before your period, they might just add to the extra gassiness that you might have, because there is a inherent slowing down of the contraction of the gut near to your period, because the progesterone, your second half of your cycle, goes up, up, up. Progesterone is what they call a smooth muscle relaxant. So it relaxes the muscle of the intestines, so you don't get as much contraction. So you might be a little constipated right before. So you might have food already sitting in there that's not getting pushed through because of the effects of progesterone. Add on top of that cruciferous veggies, or fibrous veggies, they may actually add to the bloat and the constipation potentially, especially if you're not drinking enough, especially if you're on top of that adding on packaged processed foods. So the bloat, again, might be as a result of some of the progesterone effects. Putting those veggies on top is going to make matters worse. So cut down on specifically those veggies. I'm not talking about like salad greens are great. They're generally not gaseous. Things like beans might not be a great idea. So sticking to, zucchini would be fine, but like the cruciferous veggies and legumes, probably not the best idea initially premenstrually. And what happens is when you actually get your period, progesterone falls. So everything should start moving again. So I would play with it. I would probably cut them out for like the 3 days premenstrually and the 2 days of your period. And then you can play with it and maybe add them back on the second day of your period, or even the first, depending on how much relief you're experiencing from just these small little dietary hacks that I'm recommending. Okay. So tip 1, go back and look at tip 1. That in combination to this dietary adjustment right around your period will both significantly improve your bloat premenstrually and with your period. Okay. I hope this helped. We will be back tomorrow for Podcast Tuesday. It is a solo episode from yours truly. And then Wednesday, I will be back with tip 3. So stay tuned. And that's all I have for you. 3 tips on this topic, but they're really good tips. So stay tuned for that. Okay. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Hello. Hello. Happy Wednesday. So I'm back with the 3rd tip on how to beat bloat in PMS and with your period. And if you missed the other 2 tips, go check out the guides. It's under its own little guide on how to decrease bloat with PMS and menstruation, which is another word for your period. And today, tip 3 is, and you're probably not going to like it, it's to exercise, movement. I know the last thing you feel like doing is putting on a pair of leggings, shorts, and going and working out when you're PMSing or have your period. But honestly, it is one of the best things you can do to help beat that bloat. So even as simple as a 15-minute walk will do it. And I had told the story, I'm not sure where I told the story, when I used to be a bodybuilder. I had issues with constipation. So again, another source of bloat, right? And my coach would say, go out for a morning walk before you do anything, because it gets your gut moving, it gets intestines moving, it gets the motility, pushing things through. Obviously, you can go to the bathroom, but it also helps push gas and such through your intestinal wall. And as I pointed out in one of the other tips, progesterone, which is really, really high right before you get your period, actually has a slowing effect of the gut. So a lot of women have looser stools with the onset of their period. That is because the progesterone abruptly falls and all of a sudden everything's back to normal. But a lot of women do suffer from a bit of constipation, which I gave you some tips on that yesterday, or not yesterday, on tip 2, on how to decrease the bloat from what's going on in your intestines. But one of the best ways to get things moving, to get that bloat that might be as a result of the higher progesterone levels, is to get moving, is to exercise. And, what I would really love for you to do, if you don't exercise, start making it a priority. It's a great healthy thing to do at a baseline, but start making it a priority. Oh, I see my period's coming. I'm going to try these 3 tips that Dr. Renee gave me to see if they do help decrease my bloat right before my period and the first day or 2 of my period. And you might actually start developing a healthy habit if you start instituting some sort of exercise. And again, it doesn't have to be crazy. Quite honestly, a lot of times with your cycle, you do want to be doing more restorative work coming into your period, like, yoga or such, but it's still movement, especially yoga. It's great because all of those twisting motions actually help with motility of the gut. So I highly recommend yoga, but, which is what I do. I do Kundalini yoga, which is a lot of twisting. Again, it's, the purpose is, yes, it helps gut health, but it's really for spinal health and helping the energy systems of the body sort of open up. But the nice side effects is it does help nourish your kidneys, your liver, your gut with increased circulation and blood flow and lymphatic flow. So super important that we remember all of that, even when it comes to our period. And again, if you're not into yoga, that's cool, but I would actually just get out. I don't care how cold it is. I double everything, double glove, double sweatpants, 3 shirts, a hat, boots, you name it, in sometimes single digit weather to go out and get my walk in. And you can do the same. So if you really want to beat that bloat, follow these 3 tips. Let me know how it goes. And I'll be back with a new topic tomorrow. Again, if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the Q&A thread at the top of the group under the featured pins. And I'm happy to do a Q&A if I get enough of them. And that's it for now. So stay tuned for a new topic tomorrow. And any suggested topics, again, pop them in the Q&A. That's the only way I get to know what you want to hear. Okay. And if I can speak on it, from my education and from my knowledge point of view, if it's something that I can't speak on, I'll let you know. But if it's, I'm pretty well versed in almost all things women's health. So challenge me, give me a topic, and I would be happy to do a 5 or 10 minute Facebook Live on it. Okay. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Real Heal and that you learned something new. And before you go, can you do me a quick favor? Take a screenshot right now and share it to Instagram and tag me so I can celebrate you for taking action and improving your health. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please take a minute to leave me a rating and a quick review. This will help others just like you find the show. And do not forget to subscribe because you will not want to miss out on any of the amazing guest experts that I have coming up very soon. And remember, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. Do one thing today that makes you happy and learn to love life again. And with that, I'm out of here. Talk to you again soon.